Anyone who follows my content on a regular basis knows that I'm all about feeling the feels, experiencing all your emotions, processing them, honouring them, but also learning to regulate them. And one of the key ways in which you begin to regulate your emotions is getting on top of automatic negative thoughts, so staying on top of your cognitive processes. And the thing is, when I mention negative thinking to most people, they get very defensive and they're like, I don't think negatively. But the thing is, negative thinking is a sign of your brain actually doing its work. Your brain wants to keep you alive. It doesn't give a shit about your happiness, And because of this, it assumes that there is a negative outcome to everything. So you have to work quite purposefully in order to go against this. Not only that, but your brain is a bit of a lazy shit. It likes to keep its cognitive workload as low as possible. So it groups things, it groups ideas, it groups people, just so that it doesn't have to do the work of figuring things out. But this can really work against you. And one of the ways this can work against you is in very black and white or all or nothing thinking, this assumption that, for example, I need to either be successful or I'm a complete failure. Another example of your brain being extremely unhelpful is when it has this always or never mentality. If somebody pisses you off once, all of a sudden you're like, they always do this, And if you ask yourself the honest truth, the likelihood is they don't always do this. They might have just done it once, but again, your brain has this way of telling you a story. Another example of distorted thinking is when we make the assumption that we know that we can predict the future or that we know what somebody else is thinking. We assume that we have mind reading abilities and we know exactly the way another person's thoughts are going. And the reality is the only person's thoughts that we can be aware of and are our own. And even then we're not always aware of them. So it's an idea to maybe get on top of your own thoughts before you jump in on somebody else's. I think my absolute favourite sap that I am of all of the biases is the fundamental attribution error. And this basically means that when something goes right in our lives, we tend to push it down to our own remarkable capabilities, and that it had nothing to do with external factors or sheer luck. Then when something goes wrong, we tend to blame everyone but ourselves. We kind of look to all external circumstance as to why things didn't work out. And we basically absolve ourselves of any part or parcel in things resulting the way that they did. And this error can be the birthplace of some really negative ways of thinking, such as guilt, laying guilt on people, or, the whole blame mentality, or the whole you should, I should, the world should, and it's really close-minded. So how do you get on top of it? Well, it's like getting on top of your emotions. You have to first of all become aware of them, and that takes discipline, that takes practice, and at first you may find the whole thing quite daunting, because when you start tuning into the monologue that's going on in your mind, it's fucking crazy, like the shit that you say to yourself. However, you become more aware of the unhelpful stories that you're telling yourself, and you can start to challenge them. So with every thought that you have that is potentially unhelpful and that is causing you pain, oftentimes we're telling ourselves a story about our partners, about our kids, about our employers, about our friends that are really hurtful and that are doing the most damage to us. They're tearing us up, they're eating us up inside. So, it's about challenging them. So ask yourself, is that thought true? And generally you'll find that it's not 100%. And if it's not 100% true, ask yourself, how much better would your life be if you no longer entertain the thought? And then also turn the thought around and ask yourself if there is any possibility that in fact the opposite is true. And oftentimes you'll find that it is. And if the thought is true, Well, then learn to release it. And one fantastic way I find of this is just releasing it to some higher power, just being like, I cannot carry this burden by myself, and just letting it go and just asking the universe for help to cope with it. And it just means that you're not struggling on your own, or indeed reach out to somebody in your life. I mean, so much of our unhappiness is caused by us being unable to express our feelings, unable to express our thoughts, get on top of our thoughts, and we're all feeling so disconnected, so unhappy. So it's all about reaching in, reaching out, and reaching up. That's assuming that it's up there. Whatever it is that I hand my thoughts to, I don't know, whatever power it is, it just feels good to do that, to not have to carry every little bit of burden by myself, So if you'd like any more information about any of the ideas that I talk about on here, get in touch on my website. There's some great blogs up there as well, even if I do say so myself. It's fundamentals.ie, and you can get in touch with me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and I think my contact details are on all of those platforms as well. Again, I'm running my workshop. It's September the 18th, Maldron Hotel, Tala. See you there. Have a great day.